Max Cahoney goes to a man who's dear to my heart for standing up for stand-up. When dozens of Netflix employees walked out over Dave Chappelle's reckless decision to perform comedy on his comedy special, CEO Ted Sarandos could have pulled the special. Instead, he reminded his Netflix employees that comedy exists to push boundaries and told them if you'd find it hard to support our content breadth, Netflix may not be the best place for you. So, for making the phrase, "don't let the door hit you in the ass," never sound better, this is for you.
This one's for you, Ted. Bill Maher isn't done taking aim at Hollywood's woke elite. Recently, he tore into several celebrities for relentlessly pushing their progressive agenda and forcing it on everyone else. In true Maher fashion, he dismantled their weak arguments piece by piece, calling out their hypocrisy, performative activism, and total disconnect from reality. There's a lot to break down here, so let's get into it.
No getting around the fact that what was on the mind of the liberals that night in Brentwood, or wherever we may have been, was that the most powerful witch hunters now were coming from Twitter, the Ivy League, and the progressive left. J.K. Rowling used to be a villain to the right because she wrote books about witchcraft. Now she's a villain to the left because she has the crazy belief that there's more to being a woman than pronouns and lipstick.
Maher opened the night by highlighting a brutal irony. The woke left idolizes its heroes right up until those heroes say something that doesn't align with the approved narrative. Then, suddenly, they're cast out. J.K. Rowling is perhaps the most famous example, but far from the only one. Elon Musk was once Silicon Valley's favorite innovator. Joe Rogan was the progressive world's bold truth-teller. Even Maher himself was hailed as a liberal icon. Yet the moment any of them dared to express an unpopular opinion, the woke mob turned on them instantly. In this world, loyalty seems to last only as long as obedience does.
So that was the point of the evening. How do we take a stand against cancel culture? And I suggested, since we were mostly all in show business, that we start an award show to honor the brave people who have fought back. Well, I got to tell you, the idea was met with great enthusiasm by everyone. And in short order, different people were suggesting the ways that their varied talents could be put to use. And then, of course, being Hollywood, nothing happened. But it's still a good idea, so I'm going to do it right here, right now. And not only that, we're going to do it every...
So, if you're wondering what Maher is really getting at, here's the gist. He's celebrating Hollywood's true rebels, the ones who refuse to bow to the cancel culture inquisition. These are the stars who didn't grovel, didn't release those perfectly polished PR apologies, and didn't scrub their social media just to stay in the mob's good graces. Instead, they stood firm, doubled down, and reminded everyone that free speech still counts, even in Hollywood's suffocating echo chamber. Maher is essentially tipping his hat to the rare few who refuse to trade integrity for applause. And in today's climate, that kind of courage deserves a standing ovation.
First award goes to the president of my alma mater, Cornell University, Martha Pollack. This month, students there demanded trigger warnings before all the lectures in case any of the adult subjects you specifically went to college to learn about came up. And Martha said, yeah, no, we're not doing that. She didn't cave in or hire a new dean of sensitivity. She just said, no, college is for introducing you to new ideas, not for kissing your and making you feel wonderful and always right.
If every university had the courage and clarity of Martha Pollack, we'd be raising a generation of strong, independent thinkers rooted in common sense instead of ideological nonsense. For far too long, higher education, especially in the years leading up to Trump, devolved into a breeding ground for absurd, unworkable ideas that chipped away at society's moral core. Campuses turned into echo chambers where dissent was punished, conformity was celebrated, and genuine curiosity gave way to rigid political correctness. But even before Trump's presidency, leaders like Martha Pollack stood their ground. She resisted the growing wave of wokeism and defended the true purpose of education. That kind of integrity and courage is exactly what makes her deserving of the praise Maher is giving her.
A brunch with your parents. I'm just amazed at how this generation can simultaneously be too sensitive for anything distasteful and somehow also so into eating. So Cornell, I present you with these balls. I sure could have used them when I...
If every university had the courage and clarity of Martha Pollock, we'd be raising a generation of strong, independent thinkers rooted in common sense instead of ideological nonsense. For far too long, higher education, especially in the years leading up to Trump, devolved into a breeding ground for absurd, unworkable ideas that chipped away at society's moral core. Campuses turned into echo chambers where dissent was punished, conformity was celebrated, and genuine curiosity gave way to rigid political correctness. But even before Trump's presidency, leaders like Martha Pollock stood their ground. She resisted the growing wave of wokeism and defended the true purpose of education. That kind of integrity and courage is exactly what makes her deserving of the praise Maher is giving her.
It goes to the place where many Cornell grads will be working next year, Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's, who for years have been selling a line of ethnically themed products, trading on the name Joe. For example, they have Trader Jose's beer. So, of course, one teenager on Twitter heard the word Jose and said it was racist, and then there was a petition.
I still remember the Trader Joe's story like it happened yesterday. The Twitter mob came after them with virtual pitchforks, demanding apologies, forced humility, and public re-education. Everyone assumed the company would fold, just like so many others have. That's the pattern now. Cave under pressure, issue a painfully long apology statement oozing with guilt, and then rebrand yourself into irrelevance. But Trader Joe's did the unthinkable. They stood firm. They refused to join the cancel culture circus. And you know what? The sky didn't fall. The outrage faded, the world kept spinning, and their sales didn't just survive, they thrived.
Life had a sense of humor and released this statement. We disagree that any of these labels are racist, and we do not make decisions based on petitions. You see how easy it is? So to the home of the 19-cent banana, here, have some nut.
Trader Joe's deserves every bit of credit for standing tall against the so-called woke mob. In a time when most corporations crumble at the first hint of online backlash, Trader Joe's proved that courage still counts and it pays off. Their response was a masterclass in backbone and perspective, showing that you can push back and still come out stronger. The mob isn't nearly as powerful as it wants you to believe. It's mostly a small group of perpetually outraged voices yelling into the Twitter void. And once you recognize that, their influence disappears. Trader Joe's didn't just survive. They showed everyone exactly how to do it right.
Cojones goes to a man who's dear to my heart for standing up for stand-up. When dozens of Netflix employees walked out over Dave Chappelle's reckless decision to perform comedy on his comedy special. Reminded his Netflix employees that comedy exists to push boundaries and told them if you'd find it hard to support our content breadth, Netflix may not be the best place for you. So, for making the phrase, "Don't let the door hit you in the ass," never sound better, this is for you, Ted.
Even comedians, the very people whose job is to push boundaries and make us laugh at life's absurdities, haven't escaped the grip of cancel culture. The woke mob, always hungry for something new to be outraged about, has targeted some of the biggest names in comedy. Dave Chappelle was dragged through the mud for daring to joke about taboo topics. Kevin Hart lost his chance to host the Oscars over decade-old tweets he had already apologized for. Joe Rogan was attacked for hosting open conversations that didn't fit the approved narrative. Even Rob Schneider, known for his lighthearted, silly humor, wasn't spared from their crusade. The absurdity is staggering. Comedy has always thrived on challenging norms and exposing society's hypocrisies. Yet today, one-off script joke can be treated like a criminal offense. The irony couldn't be clearer. The very people devoted to free expression are now the first ones being silenced.
When movie lovers get together these days, one phrase that comes up a lot and always makes me sad is, "Yeah, you couldn't make that one today." Top of that list is the great Tropic Thunder, which the scolds have been after for years. But in February, Ben Stiller tweeted, "I make no apologies for Tropic Thunder. It's always been a controversial movie since when we opened, proud of it and the work everyone did on it." See, people, it's not that hard. He said it, and he still got a commercial. And the lesson is, if you stand up to the mob for just a day or two, their shallow, impatient, immature, smartphone-driven, gerbil minds will forget about it and go on to the next nothing burger, and you still will have your cojones.
Exactly. Maher didn't hold back when he reminded Hollywood that standing up to the woke mob isn't career suicide. Too many celebrities live in constant fear of backlash, convinced that one angry hashtag could erase everything they've worked for. But Maher cut through the hysteria with brutal honesty. At worst, you'll face a wave of mindless Twitter outrage for a day or two before the mob moves on to its next victim. Careers aren't destroyed by criticism, they're destroyed by cowardice. The real threat isn't being called out online, it's surrendering your voice to appease a crowd that will never be satisfied. Maher's message was simple but powerful. Stop groveling, stop apologizing for using common sense, and stop letting fear dictate what you say. Because in the end, audiences don't admire compliance, they admire courage.
One said, "I am moving if Trump is my president. I don't say things I don't mean." Here she is looking miserable, having to endure America at the Grammys last Sunday. I guess she flew back from Tajikistan.
Maher then turned his fire on Hollywood's self-proclaimed activists, the ones who love to talk tough but crumble when real conviction is required. Remember the parade of celebrities who swore they'd leave America if Trump ever won the presidency? They made dramatic vows on late-night shows, red carpets, and Twitter, declaring they'd flee the country in protest. But fast forward 9 months into Trump's term, where were they? Still lounging in their mansions, still walking red carpets, still living comfortably under the very administration they claimed was unbearable. Not a single moving truck in sight. Maher didn't sugarcoat it. He called it what it was, pure hypocrisy. Empty promises for applause. Hollow outrage for attention. If you're going to preach resistance, at least live it. Otherwise, it's not courage, it's theater. A performance for the cameras, not a principle worth respecting.
16, Eddie Griffin said, "If Trump wins, I'm moving to Africa." Apparently very slowly, because in Trump's 4 years, he only got as far as Van Nuys. George Lopez once said that if Trump won, he won't have to worry about immigration. We'll all go back. George Lopez, still here.
Hollywood celebrities are the last people anyone should ever turn to for serious advice. They're not philosophers or visionaries, they're performers whose entire existence depends on applause. Their opinions shift with the wind, their values follow whatever trend earns the loudest cheer, and their convictions vanish the moment they threaten ticket sales or streaming numbers. They've mastered the art of pandering, constantly polishing their image to stay in the public's favor. And when the woke mob comes knocking, most of them fold instantly, offering hollow apologies just to protect their fame. You'll rarely find a principle they're willing to stand by, let alone a hill they'd die on. Their moral compass points only toward relevance and attention. At the end of the day, Maher's takedown of Hollywood and the woke mob wasn't just comedy, it was a wake-up call. He reminded us that cancel culture only has the power we allow it to have. Trader Joe's proved that standing firm works. Comedians proved that laughter can't be censored. And leaders like Martha Pollack proved that courage still exists in academia. Hollywood elites can posture and virtue signal all they want, but true influence comes from those who refuse to bend. Maher's message was simple and sharp. Stop bowing to empty outrage and start defending common sense. In today's world, defiance isn't reckless, it's essential. And with that, we'll wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.